conspiracy theory or not, your language is the main culprit of what's controlling you. It's all about the meanings we put behind words. There's so many words out there, and the way that we use them is a way that the meaning actually shows itself. It may not all be our fault, though. Language has clearly been around for forever. There's so many different languages out there, but the English language is a kind of a beast in its own aspect. People who know multiple languages and English isn't their first language say that English is one of the hardest languages to learn, up there with Japanese. We have so many different meanings for the same word with the different spellings. It's kind of interesting when you start to think about it. Like, for example, let's use there. There, and there. When you're writing it out, you have three different ways that you can write it out, right? You have they are, there as in that person's, or there as in that place. When we're speaking, we automatically understand what there it is. So why do we have three of the same words with three different spellings? It's just interesting to me. And this is where I have to ask, is this a conspiracy? Either somebody back in the day was so anal that they were like, we have to have these three different spellings of this same word. Otherwise, people just will not understand. Or was it on an agenda? Was it on the basics of, well, if you write it out this way, is it going to make people think of right and wrong, start classifying others being wrong if they're not particularly knowledgeable about exactly which there it is? I mean, we're on the internet. How many times have you seen the misusage of spelling in there? And then it comes into the question of, is this a control thing? Was this part of the agenda for the masses to all only think that a word only has a meaning unless it's spelt differently? Hi, my name's Frankie. Welcome to Balance Rebels, where we try to balance out every aspect of life. So clearly, there's plenty of words out there that all have different meanings. Something on the top of my head is like sis. You know, I'm from the Midwest, so my grandmother used to call all of us girls sis. My aunt was called sis. All the Grain girls were called sis. You get into other cultures, and sis is just like a friend. It's a close friend, like sister. Or you get on the playground and you hear kids call each other sis, but it's a sis as in like a sissy. Don't be such a sis. Don't be such a girl. There's just so many different meanings, and the way that we speak these words clearly come about in their own meanings. You can tell a meaning of a word between the tone through the context of the conversation. But what about those words that we don't even realize that we're putting a meaning on? Meanings that we put onto words all come from our own perspective, from our belief systems, from our experiences, meanings that have emotion behind them from what has happened in our past, the feedback that we've gotten throughout our life. I remember I used to work at the mall at a clothing store, and one of the guys that I worked with did not like to be called a jerk. None of us ever called him a jerk, but just in conversation, he brought up the fact that jerk pissed him off like no other. Which, of course, me being me, I thought it was funny because jerk is like the most lowest level insult in my book. And so, of course, every time I thought I was being funny, all I wanted to do was call him a jerk, but I held back because it completely irated this dude. Now, I didn't ask what had happened in his life for him to feel this way about the word jerk, but it's just an example of how our past can create such emotion around words. So when we hear them or we use them, it could be in a completely different context than how Joe Smo right next to us may have said or used or heard the word at that time. The point is we all have our own perspectives. We all have our own experiences that we've tied emotions to, whether it be words or situations in our life. You can't change anybody else. You can only focus and work on yourself and understanding that you are your sole responsibility. You are the keeper of your actions. The goal in conversations with others and within ourselves is to respond rather than react. And this is in any kind of situation, whether it brings up anger, whether it brings up sadness, rejection, or even happiness. It's all in how you respond rather than how you react. And that, my friends, is having control of yourself. Having that awareness of how these words really interact with you, how they bring up stuff. No matter what you do, you're either responding or you're reacting. And honestly, everything is a choice. So becoming aware of what these feelings are whenever these words are spoken allows you to understand a little bit more as to how you may be responding or how you may be reacting. And when you're talking to yourself, that can be a big indicator to how you're seeing things in life, how you may be putting emotion from what somebody else is saying from the viewpoint that you've been leading with for however long. There's so many different meanings behind every word, and it really is amazing the different languages that we can all speak. So think about that the next time you may be having a conversation with yourself or you're having a conversation with anyone else. The way that the emotions that the conversations bring up is really what's controlling you. It's what's causing you to react or to respond. The only limits that we have are on ourselves. With a little bit of practice and a little bit of effort, we can honestly do anything we want. It's all about how committed you are. So I'd be interested to know, what are your thoughts on this? Can you think of a time of a misunderstanding for a choice of words? Somebody maybe putting a different meaning on a certain word that was said within the conversation? Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, bye.